Now this might be the best spec 2024 Toyota Sequoia. This is a platinum trim with the TRD off-road package, meaning that you have the best of both worlds when it comes to luxury and off-road. We're going to talk in detail about what that means. We're also going to have a look at the sticker to see what this vehicle costs in just a minute, in addition to talk about this design. What we're going to do in this video is have a look at this design, of course, from a front, side, rear, the interior in this lunar rock color, and then we're going to take this for a drive.
Under the hood, we do have an iForce Max twin-turbo V6 hybrid, 10-speed automatic, all-wheel drive, of course. Power output comes out to 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. Fuel economy sits at 19 city, 22 highway. 0 to 60 miles per hour is done in 5.5 seconds. Base price comes out to $76,500. However, this one, as tested, is priced at $82,500.
Now, starting with the front end design of the 2024 Sequoia Platinum with the TRD off-road package, this is going to look a little bit different than the TRD Pro, specifically when it comes to the grille. Instead of having the Heritage badge or Toyota letters in the middle right here, this one has the Toyota logo in the middle. Maybe some things that looks a little cleaner. We also don't have the big light bar in the middle in this case. Overall, I think this is a beautiful design. We have some nice chamfers going all around. We have the same headlight unit as we have on the Tundra. Toyota saving a little bit of money there. And specifically in this lunar rock color, this is definitely the color that I personally would pick for my 2024 Sequoia. Now, this having the TRD off-road package, it does have a pretty good ground clearance. But if you look all the way down here, I think something that Toyota could have done differently is, you see this big plastic piece down here? This is the first thing that's gonna get ripped off the front end of your Sequoia when you take this off-road, because I would assume if you go for the TRD off-road package, you want to take this on some trails, and I think Toyota could have just removed this plastic piece at the bottom from the get-go, from the factory, to increase the ground clearance in the front end. One thing I love that Toyota is doing right now is all of the chamfers that we have going on in the front. And we have one chamfer here, another chamfer here, a third chamfer at the very bottom, functional air slots right here, and I love this sequential indicator that we have in the headlight unit. Even these holes underneath the headlight are also functional. Very clean design language and design DNA. Juicy LED in the middle, and overall it just gives this confident looking front end to the face of the Sequoia. Now, coming around to the side view of the 2024 Sequoia, there is a lot going on here. We have these lines cutting into the bodywork and into the door. I love that it continues and have sort of a connection to the front end. We have the same treatment right here in the front. I mean in the rear for that one, obviously. Here, coming into the front end headlights, looking nice. And what I love about the TRD off-road package is all that is chrome on the Platinum package. Here, everything's blacked out. You also have this beautiful functional TRD side step with the wheel and tire setup specific for the TRD off-road package. These ones are 265mm wide tires, 21-inch wheels, and they're all blacked out with these Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tires. It just completes the overall look of this design, and this is the package that I would pick for my Platinum if I couldn't have the TRD Pro, which is what would be my first option for this car. Now, there are some very interesting graphic design details for every Sequoia. For example, have a look at the A-pillar. They just splashed or sticker, like it feels like a sticker that is blacked out to have this continuous line up top being all black. And these mirrors are some of the biggest mirrors I've ever seen on a car. They're actually pretty distracting when you're driving because they cover up such a huge spot. They can even cover up an entire car. Further down, we do have this cut line in the body with the Platinum trim here. Another cool graphic feature is this piece back here, this black piece, to try to make it feel a little bit more athletic than if we had all the entire D-pillar being in lunar rock color. I think it looks cool, and it feels like Toyota is having a lot of fun with the graphic designs of their cars these days. Now, coming around to the rear view of the 2024 Sequoia, this is by far my favorite view of this car. I think everything comes together so nicely. Look at the shoulder line here from a side and how it goes up here and creates this little shelf up top. Of course, everything being blacked out, even the Toyota logo back here with the Sequoia letters at the very bottom. Big juicy taillights, thick LEDs in the corners going into a thinner piece in the middle with this black connecting piece in the middle. One thing I would like to change here is the wiper location. This being an $82,000, $83,000 car, I would like to have this not be visible and stick it in and hide it under here. But at the same time, this is sort of a utilitarian truck, so it doesn't really bother me that much. Overall, it's just a beautiful design by Toyota. Further down though at the bumper, we don't have any exhaust pipes visible. You kind of can see it right there, stick it out in one single side. So it's not a symmetrical exhaust system. We only have one pipe. We have this black diffuser, not aggressive at all, and we don't need that, of course, this being a Sequoia. We have the rear mounted camera located right here, and if we open up the trunk, it is pretty spacious. This being a 3-row SUV. Inside here, you have the foldable third row located right here in the back, obviously, and these are power assistants. You just have to hit these buttons right here, and as you can see, it slowly folds up the rear seats, but I would probably have them folded down at all times unless I have a huge family to put the kids back here. In addition to the foldable rear seats, you also have a 12-volt house outlet here and this flappy rubber protection piece with Sequoia stamped on it. So let's close this back down and let's have a look at this interior, because I do think Toyota right now is doing some of the best interiors in the business, specifically integrating a big 14-inch screen in the dash and making it feel welcomed in there. So let's have a look at that. Welcome to the absolutely stunning interior of the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. Let's fire this up. It's a little toasty in here. Summer is finally here. But you never know with Colorado. It can be hail and snow tomorrow. You really don't know in this state. So here we have a 12.3-inch gauge cluster, beautifully laid out because we have a nice housing for it. Soft touch material up top. Blue stitching on this, like clearly very blue stitching that doesn't really have a connection to anything on the exterior design, but I think it still looks cool. And this is the big piece that we have right here, the 14-inch infotainment screen. This is massive, and I'm so impressed with how Toyota manages to integrate this inside of this interior because it feels like it belongs here. I also like these vents with this metallic feel for the vents, and also the trim here that says platinum on the side. Further down we have all these buttons, physical buttons. Thank you, Toyota, for putting some physical buttons into your cars and still keeping it intact. This big rugged volume button, you have the AC button, heated and cooled seats. Actually, let's turn the AC on even though I have the door open because I don't want to sweat to death today. You also have a regular USB port here, which is kind of unusual today. Usually we have a bunch of USB-Cs, but the first thing you notice is just a regular USB. This one has a 14-speaker JBL sound system in this car. Further down, you have all these arrays of buttons again. So 2 levels of physical buttons for the trailer connection. You have the camera view. If you pop that up, you have the 360 camera here looking great. You also have the traction control off and the rear locking differential button. Further down, you have the wireless charging pad and some storage further down with this solid gear selector that if you're driven a TRD vehicle recently, you're definitely going to recognize this one. It's the same in pretty much every single TRD from 2024. Further back, this is the drive mode selector dial here. So you have drive modes, tow haul, crawl, or you have a multi-terrain select. So you have a bunch of different drive modes. The basic ones are the eco, normal, and sport. And then you can also select auto, dirt, sand, mud, or deep snow if you click this MTS or multi-terrain surface button on this dial. So it's very convenient because you have one dial for essentially 4 different functions depending on what button is selected. To the left of the drive modes, you have this selector for 4-wheel high or 2-wheel high or 4-wheel low. Very easy to adjust that. Further back, huge armrest. One thing I don't really like about this armrest though is how it's designed, because there is a huge hole here in the middle. You can't slide this little storage compartment forward, but it's not going to help with resting your arm. It's a very thin armrest here in the middle, just a small detail, otherwise it's very comfortable to drive this car. Underneath here you have a bunch of storage. This is huge with a lot of compartments down here, and here you can find a USB-C port in addition to another regular USB. Toyota seems to still be fans of the regular USB ports, which is a great thing because a lot of people still use those. And here is a sticker. I'm going to throw that up right here so you can pause the video and check out the options for this specific Sequoia. Looking up top, we have a huge sunroof that stretches all the way back to the passenger seats. Now looking at this steering wheel, it's a great looking steering wheel. We don't have the TRD stamped at the bottom like we have on the TRD Pro, since this one is still the Platinum, but everything else looks pretty similar, perforated on the sides, and you have all the buttons right here on the right side for the cruise control and the radio mode button, and on the left side you do have the controls for the volume control and also to customize whatever you want inside of the gauge cluster. So very easily laid out. I love this interior because, as I said, everything feels natural in here, and I love specifically that we still have a bunch of rubberized buttons on the interior. It just looks beautiful. To the left side of the steering wheel you do have some more buttons here. Heated steering wheel, you have the extension for the side mirrors. You can extend them in and out if you want to do that, if you have a trailer back there, and the automatic high beams and a couple of other buttons there. So let's jump into the back seat and see if I can fit behind my own driving position, which I'm obviously going to do because this is a massive vehicle. Jumping in using this rugged side step into the back seat, and these front seats are in the same position. This is my driving position, and I have tons of space here. I also have some sun, since this sunroof stretches all the way back here. We have 3 climate zones in this car, so 2 in the front and 1 here in the rear, in addition to a house outlet, 12-volt outlet, and 2 USBs. Again, a regular USB here in addition to a USB-C. So with that said, we talked about the interior, the exterior. Now it's time to take this for a drive. The first thing you notice when you step into a new Sequoia is just how rugged and solid it feels driving this car. You also have a lot of power, 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds. And not that anybody cares about 0 to 60 times in a car like this, at least I don't. You also have a 10-speed automatic, and what I love about this is it's a great automatic, but Toyota decided to not put the paddles in here. And I like that because every single car these days, even though it's the most luxurious, most rugged off-road car, they still have paddles here, and it doesn't make sense to me. So I like that this feels more like a purposeful vehicle that is supposed to be one thing, and that is what it does great, and this is exactly that. I also love this interior, even though a couple of things here feels a little squeaky or maybe like hard plasticky. For example, this tray that we have in the middle and this top piece up here, they feel like they might maybe break very soon if you're not careful with them. But other than that, the driving experience of this car, I've always loved the Sequoia, specifically the new one with the new Toyota styling that we have here. And the cool thing about this specific Sequoia is that you do have the Platinum spec with the heated, ventilated seats, all these luxury features, 10-inch head-up display, which I think is about a $200 or $300 option. I can't remember. It's on the spec sheet. And in addition to that, you also have the TRD off-road package, which means that you get the best of both worlds. Even though I personally, it sounds really good too, this twin-turbo V6 I-Force engine. The thing, the one I would pick would still be the TRD Pro, because I just like the styling better. I like the heritage grill in the middle, in the front end, and also that it says Toyota right there instead of just barely saying Platinum right now in this trim. It just feels a little bit more rugged than this. I also like the wheel and tire setup better in the TRD Pro. But if you're looking for a capable off-roader that is fantastic on long road trips and on highway cruising, And if you want all the luxury features and a different styling, then this is the one to go. For $82,000 with the package that we have here, or with the packages that we have here, TRD off-road package seems like such a good deal. I mean, you get the Bilstein shocks, you get the wheel and tire setup here that we have, similar to what we have on the TRD Pro. And last but not least, I'm not sure if you can get the Platinum with blacked out graphics on the exterior, but that's a huge deal for me. It just looks so much better blacked out. Now, this is not a vehicle that you know, want to have fun on twisty roads like this, but if you want to, I guess you could still do that, because it's pretty fun to drive on roads like this. And if you happen to find a small little trail off the main roads that you think, where does that go? You don't have to worry about anything, since you do have the TRD off-road package. One detail though that keeps annoying me in the interior is this armrest, because you can see that my arm is sort of hanging in this hole that we have right here, and I want to have this be completely covered up. It's not a big deal, I can always move my arm closer to me, but if you're a wide person, this might be annoying in the long run. I think right now Toyota is crushing it when it comes to their sort of off-road vehicles. They have a bunch of random boring SUV, crossover SUVs, of course. They gotta have that to bring in the revenue. But for these type of vehicles, the Sequoia, the Tundra, the new Tacoma, they all have a very clean and clear design identity that I think suits Toyota, and it definitely sets it apart from the competition with a very distinct styling. Specifically these chiseled features that we have all over the front end and also the rear. Now, if you step on it, it almost sounds like a V8 under there. Again, it just sounds great, this engine. But if you want to calm it down and just cruise, just put it in normal or eco mode, and you can just cruise along and eat up the miles in complete comfort with this new 2024 Sequoia. No one behind me, no one in front of us, so let's quickly come to a stop here and let's do a 0 to 60. Let's go. And there we have 60. So it's not a slow car, but this being so huge, there is no sensation of speed, and this is not a car you want to floor every time you go driving it. This is a car that you just want to cruise around in and chill out in. So overall, it's a fantastic vehicle, and as I said, I love this spec, specifically the lunar rock color and the Platinum with the TRD off-road package. It's just a car. It's a lot of car for the money, even though it is very expensive at $82,300.